And he's like, look, if I give you what you're asking for, will you just take it off Craigslist? Like, he was a very matter of fact man. Like, I don't
Oh,
have time to be playing with you. How much do you want for it? And
wow.
so at that point, I think it was up to 745 on
Okay.
Craigslist.
Okay.
And he was like, is that it? Is that what you want? And I was like, well, let's talk about the other terms. Like, now I'm nervous, but now I'm like, oh, okay.
That,
Wow,
that
you're not playing around.
that's way real cash buyers talk. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Two
Yeah,
hundred
that was
and eighty-five thousand dollars wholesaling her very first house, only using a $100 earnest money deposit. I cannot make this stuff up. My girl Jazz from the DMV area is here to share her story with you and me, so you know what you need to do is simply stand by. Let's get it.
Flip man, it's the flip man. Flip man. You want some money in your hand? Flipping houses without credit or your cash. Get that bag.
Hello, guys. This is Ty, aka the Flip Man, and today, wow. I've had a lot of interviews over the years and some very impressive numbers and stories. But this one is number one to date, especially at the one bag on one deal. All right. So I have my friend, I guess you would say,
mm-hmm.
Natalia, out of the Maryland area, DC, DMV area. You're in the DMV, correct?
Right.
Yeah. And so she's here to share her story on how her first wholesale deal, she's made $285,000. I think I'm right on the actual number in total. And her story was not an easy one to get to that payday. And number one is going to show you that it's real, and it's going to also show that you individuals that want it in 30 days, it may happen for you like that, but it may not, and it's still worth it. So with that being said, enough of me yapping. How's it going?
It's going very well. It's going very well.
Hey, that's what's up. All right. So what I like to do is I just like to sort of get a little background before you maybe got into real estate, before you maybe got into wholesaling, and then we'll build up to that particular deal and how it went down. So if you
Okay.
could start by just simply telling us who are you? Who was the Natalia?
So I'm a former accountant, and before I got into real estate, I was an accountant in corporate America. When I bought my first house, when I bought my own house, the process went so quickly. I felt like I missed some stuff because my realtor just went so quickly, and I was like, I feel like I missed something. So I went, got my own license, and then I
Mm.
started selling real estate, and I left corporate America.
Oh wow, okay. Did I
Yeah.
know that? I didn't. I think I missed the realtor part. Um,
No, because I have a license.
yeah. Okay, wow. Okay. Good,
Yeah.
good, good. So how long have you been an agent?
13 years.
For real, for real. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So you were an accountant, and I have a good friend of mine. That's an accountant slash CPA, and I always say that you all have to be really good at attention to detail.
Yes.
I can remember taking accounting when I was in college. It was a total mess because I'm
Yeah, you
not
got to be
good at.
very analytical. You
Oh
got to
yeah,
pay attention to decimals and pennies. Yeah.
oh yeah. And so you've been an agent for 13 years.
hmm
How long have you known wholesaling has existed out of those 13 years?
Oh, I've known about wholesaling before I got a license. So
Oh really?
I've known about wholesaling for about 15 years. So that's where I was exposed to real estate because I didn't even own a house when I
Okay.
learned about wholesaling. And I was in a little club in my area, and we would take trips to Baltimore to look at abandoned houses. And This is during the yellow letter days. So I knew about wholesaling for a long time, but I never did it.
Oh wow. Okay, that's interesting. Okay,
Yeah.
so what made you? Well, you already knew about it, so I guess we just fast forward. And I'm not the only person out there that teaches this stuff on YouTube and different platforms or whatever. How long have you been consuming my content? If you can put a timestamp on it.
For 13 years, maybe
Oh, you from the
12
beginning?
or 13. Yeah, from your first YouTube, from when your graphics weren't that fancy.
Oh,
From your
wow.
really early, from your analog days, like
Oh,
before you made your way over to Instagram, that long ago.
oh, wow.
Yeah, back when I was writing letters on paper like this, that's
Okay.
when I learned about you.
Oh, wow. So you've seen the true evolution of what I got going on, like from the
Yeah.
beginning, which anybody can go back and watch those older videos, but you were
Yes.
watching them when they were happening or whatever,
Yeah.
when I was uploading them. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. I didn't know that. Another
Yeah,
thing I
like
didn't know.
from the grassroots days, and even like in the deal that we're going to talk about, those old videos are still relevant.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow, that's amazing. Okay, so all right, man. Okay, now we got some good background now. Okay.
Yeah, I've known about it 15 years, so yeah,
Okay.
I guess I would say that no, I wouldn't say that because I didn't do it. I've just known about it and I
Well,
just didn't
well,
do it.
well, let me ask you this. Obviously, if you've been an agent for 13 years, you've actually had opportunities to probably actually max out some opportunities instead of the commission or whatever.
Mhm.
Which so just out of curiosity, what kept you from pulling the trigger on stuff in the past that you probably say, well, man, I could have probably wholesaled that when you probably and well, two-part question. I ask the second question. So, what kept you from pursuing stuff in the past and you've known about it even before you became an agent? Boom. Guys, if you want to get in this wholesaling real estate game and get in it and partner with me, all you have to do is text MLS to the 205-964-5243. And what this would do is going to show you a video on how you can start virtually wholesaling from your laptop, from your smartphone, along with me being your partner on deals. So text MLS to the number right now, 205-964-5243. Now back to Jazz.
Um, I guess the groundwork of building up the pipeline. Like I was writing letters when I learned about it, and I since it was so long ago, like I vaguely remember having a couple conversations and offering someone $1 and a contract and things like that. But nothing ever panned out, and I didn't really actively pursue it. And once I
Okay.
got my license, 2 or 3 years later, I was building up my pipeline. I was getting referrals, so I was just focusing on residential real estate.
Being an agent. Okay. I
Yeah.
got you. Okay. So I forgot the second part of the question. Um, have you ever, as an agent, have you ever been in a transaction and whenever when the HUD comes and stuff, I'll say they just assigned this property. Have you ever been involved in anything that you could tell?
No.
Okay.
No, I've never seen an assignment.
Okay. All right. Cool. That's interesting. All right. So now let's get into. All right. So how did this deal come about that we're about to discuss? How did you find this particular deal?
Well, the property was sold in a tax lien transaction, and the heirs wanted to retain the property and keep it in the family so that they could renovate it or sell it themselves. But when they realized there was no will, they their hands were tied, but the money that was spent to redeem it from that tax sale was already out there. So that pretty much generated their motivation to get that money back and then sell the house. That was their motivation.
Okay. So do you remember what the amount was to redeem it?
It might have been 55 or $60,000.
Oh, it was that much? Okay, all
Mm-hmm.
right. Okay, so did they redeem it, or did it happen? I'm sorry to get ahead of myself, but just to answer this question, did they redeem it themselves, or was it redeemed at the closing when the deal happened?
They redeemed it
They redeemed.
themselves.
Oh, so they came up with the
Mm-hmm.
bread. Okay, so
Mm-hmm.
now how many? Okay, so it's air property, and for you all that don't know anything about that or may not know what we're referring to is that if someone owns a piece of real estate and they pass without a will, a recorded will, it goes into their estate. Well, it's going to do that regardless. And if they don't have a will, so all of their heirs have equal say so in most cases. So it just depends on the family structure there. But if it's a parent and they have kids, then if it's 4 kids, 25, 25, 25, 25%, equal 100%. Now, if it's a situation where they have 4 kids and one of those kids had 3 kids and they passed away, now it's 25, 20. Well, no, I'm split it. That's what did that be? 6 people. So whatever 6 into 100 is. So you got all 6 of those would have to agree to sell and sell at a price and all have to sign off on it. So that's what we call air property. All right. So, and it can be a struggle to put those deals together because a lot of times it's so difficult to get everybody on the same page to even want to sell and then
Exactly.
to sell at the same price. That can be very
Exactly.
difficult. So how many people were heirs in this situation?
8.
Oh, this gets
8.
better. All right.
8 unhappy, um, disagreeable human beings. 8
Wow.
adults. Yeah.
8 adults. Okay,
Hmm.
were these kids or I mean kids of the previous owner, or was it, like I
Yes.
somewhat okay, it was all kids.
Yes.
Okay.
There were kids and grandkids because
Oh,
some of the heirs had passed away.
passed away, like I said. Okay.
Yeah, because this was a very old property.
Really?
And I believe the original owners, they were born in like 1904 or something like that.
Oh wow. Oh man,
Yeah.
this is amazing. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Wait
Yeah.
a
I
minute.
learned a lot.
Before we go any further, I would have gave up on that deal so fast it would make your head spin. Once I found out 8 people had to decide on it, I would have
Whew.
gave it very little energy. So my hats go off to you before we even go any further. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, so so how did you actually find out? How was it brought to your attention?
Through another agent that could not help them because they thought that they could just sell it, but the will had been destroyed, so they
Okay.
couldn't do anything with it.
Okay. All right.
So I knew
Cool.
they had to go through probate.
So it was okay. All right. Okay. So this was a property in D.C. or it was in the state of Maryland?
It was in DC.
Okay, it was in D.C. Okay. All right. So when you got the lead, and what made you say like, this may be worth pursuing? What sent your wholesaler bails off? Obviously, your realtor's hat was on first, but what sent your
Yeah.
wholesaler bail off?
When I realized this wasn't going to move quickly in the state that it was in, it couldn't go to market. So even if it had gone through probate quickly, it couldn't go straight to market. And they didn't have the money to do the renovation.
Okay.
And so I was still thinking like a realtor, like, we listen, if you put it on the market, because there was no housing shortage when I met them. So if you put it on the market, you're not going to get enough to divide between all of you.
Wow. Okay. So when you told them that, then what?
So a representative had to be appointed, and that person had to work with an attorney.
Oh,
They
okay.
didn't have an attorney, so I had to help find an attorney.
So I'm saying, so what? Even though knew the situation with all the heirs, I'm saying, at what point did you say, well, I'm going to work this deal, but not as an agent? What?
Okay. So I didn't know about all the heirs. I had
Okay.
only known about the descendant of the heir that paid to have the house redeemed. So I didn't
Okay.
know there were 7 other people. All I knew was This lady had paid money to keep this house in the family, and this lady was getting older, and so getting her money back was top of mind. And my wholesale light still hadn't clicked. It was like,
Mm.
okay, how can we get her this money back? Because if her health declines and time goes on, like, how can we get her this money back? And that was my thought.
So the one person came up with the 55,000 to redeem.
Yes, yes,
Okay. Wow. Was
from
that a
her retirement savings.
okay? So that was obviously it was a challenge, but not a challenge because you got 55 grand, but it hurt or whatever.
Right,
Okay. So
right.
all right. So like I said, your wholesaler bail still didn't go off. All right. So when did it go off?
Once the attorney was found and that arrangement was made, then I started to think, okay, well, once it makes it through probate, okay, how can I sell it? What's the quickest way to sell it without having to go on the market, take a lot of calls and show it? Because I'm still thinking like an agent, and I'm like, okay, this is not going to work. And then I'm like, oh, well, and I told the family, like, you have two options. I can go to market, or I can share this with a couple of investors that I know, and they can offer you cash for it. And then that way you could probably get your money a lot quicker than having it sit on the market. And
Uh,
that's when it clicked.
that's when it clicked. Okay. All right. Now, when did it click that Miss 55,000 wasn't the only person that had to sign off on it?
Ooh. So after I had established a connection and a relationship with the people that were trying to get their money back, then they started opening up and saying, oh, well, this is what happened. This is what happened with the will. This person passed away. They got into a fight. It was like a Tyler Perry situation where you find out one story on one branch of the tree, and then that one leads to a disagreement with a cousin. And so I learned about all of that.
Oh,
And
wow.
I had to
Okay.
navigate through that to tell the person that wanted to be appointed the representative, because there was still no representative for the state, how to navigate that.
Okay. So once the attorney got involved, um, let me see. So once the attorney got involved, well, let me ask this. This started in 2019. Do you remember what month the lead
Yeah.
came your way?
It was summertime in 2019. So
So
it
now,
was
around now.
pre pandemonium.
Yeah, pre-COVID. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
All right. So all right now, so when the attorney got involved, did the
Mhm.
attorney have an idea of the timeline to get everything probated and ready to be sold? Or
Yes.
what did he tell you? Or what did they tell you?
Um, I don't remember what he told me, but he had done probates before. And I guess whatever the average or the normal time frame was, he knew it would have to take a little longer, because he knew there were 8 people that had to sign off on documents and waiting for them to return them in whatever format they went out. He knew that it was going to take longer than 90 days.
Okay. All right. So, well, I'm sure you would, that was conveyed or communicated to, the main heir that you were initially dealing with. Was she comfortable with that? I think you said the female. Was she comfortable with that?
Um, she trusted me. So the mindset was, if we don't do something, we're going to lose the house again, because the taxes are coming due again.
Okay.
And we don't have the money to pay the taxes, because the home had been abandoned for like 7 years.
Okay.
And the last person that lived in it was one of the heirs, one of the younger heirs.
Of course.
And the house had been destroyed because of pipe burst. So the
Okay.
mindset was always, whatever has to be done, we're at the point where something has to be done. And so they just push through step by step.
Okay. All right. Okay. We know the probate is in most. So, did you all sell on a price whenever you started working with them, or when was that established?
Yes. After it was in probate, after everyone was on board and the representative had been appointed, Then I checked the comps and offered a price based on that year.
Okay, and so you made an offer, or they already had a price in mind?
No, they didn't have anything in mind. I made an offer, but we
Okay,
didn't sign anything. It
okay,
was just, we were just talking numbers.
okay. All right. So I'm gonna get back to that in a second. But with the was it difficult to get them to assign the person that was going to be the representative? Was it difficult to make that decision, or the person that paid the money that was just, hey, I spent this money, it just makes sense that I'm the one or whatever.
Basically,
It was that
basically
simple.
that it was
Okay.
the latter. Yeah, it
Now,
wasn't that simple, but that's how it played out.
that's how I play. I'm about to say, just
Yeah,
because there's people that spent money doesn't mean
yeah.
everybody is on be
Yeah,
on the
yeah, they
same board.
still didn't agree with that.
Yeah.
It was like, so the person that paid the 55, $60,000 was like grandma. And
Hmm.
so they just looked at grandma as, oh, well, grandma got it. And
Okay.
they weren't thinking that she put this money out. We should help her get her money back.
Get our money back. Yeah. Okay. So, all right. So the probate. So this process started. Well, you got the lead in the summer of 2019.
Hmm.
When was the probate completed and ready to be sold?
December 2021 because
So
of COVID.
yeah, that's right. That's
All
what
the
held it up.
courts
Yeah, and
closed
all the
and
oh my God.
yeah.
So it was just literally nothing being done for months.
No, there were things being done on our end. The attorney was very diligent, making sure things were filed. He was in communication with everybody. Some of the heirs went and got their own attorney, so they were divided. So the so the representative's attorney
Smoothed it
was
over.
the main attorney. So
Yeah.
he was just making sure all the information went out.
Just wasting money. They probably said
Yes,
they're
exactly.
just
Yes,
wasting money. Keep
exactly.
trying to they still doing stuff down at the courthouse. You just trying to oh my God.
Yes,
I
yes.
was down
So
there
they
yesterday.
separated. So you got eight divided into four. I mean into two. So now it's four on each side now.
Hmm.
So it became a very delicate walk.
Wow. Okay. Okay, so December of 2019. Let me see where we went.
No, 2021.
2021. I'm sorry.
Hmm.
So, all right. So everything's ready to rock and roll. All right.
Hmm.
So, what was the price? What was the ARV? What was the price?
Um, at the time, the price was in the 400s, and the ARV was around. It was in the mid to upper 600s.
Okay. All right. Okay. So you said at the time.
Hmm.
So what does that mean when you say at the time? So it had to
Um,
change.
Oh yeah, it changed a lot. So initially, I thought I would be ready for a in buyer around November, and this was still 2021, and so by this time there was an inventory shortage. Comps and home sales were through the roof. It was an unheard of historical market, and so I had to monitor it because it was changing and going up every month.
Hmm. Okay. So well, what do you remember the square footage of the property? Because did you ever? What did you think, or it was going to cost to renovate it to get it into excellent condition?
Before the supply chain hiccup, around well in 2019 70. I'm sorry, in 2019 about 70,000.
Yeah.
In 2021 120.
Okay. All right. Okay. So now, wow. Okay. What contract that you just used the standard realtor's contract when you
Oh
did a
no.
contract? What did
Oh
you do?
no, no, no. So I had totally um separated myself from my license and this transaction. So this transaction was under my LLC.
Hold on. One more thing. If you're trying to set up your LLC, you want to be a business, act like a business so you can establish business credit and take advantage of over 250 tax deductions. Text the letters BIZ to 205-964-5243. You'll thank me later. Now back to Jazz.
LLC.
Okay.
So it was just a standard one-page contract that was assignable.
Okay. How much earnest money?
10,000.
Oh, you put 10 down?
Oh no, me, I gave $100.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah. That's what's
yeah.
$100. Oh my God.
No, no. I'm sorry. My EMD was $100.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. It's beautiful. All right. So so let's get to the buyer side of it. You got it locked up. You got it probated. It's ready to be sold. Let's get it. What happened now?
So I started to find buyers in November. I was actually in Vegas at the time, so I'm putting out emails, text messages, and to my warm market, to people that I knew were investors because I didn't have a long list of people. And so my first investor was through an associate, and that associate referred me to the first investors that I assigned the contract to.
Okay. All right. So what were the numbers on that at the time? What were the numbers?
I was assigning at 675, I believe.
Okay, you had it on the contract for 400.
Yes,
Okay, yeah.
it was
Okay,
more than 400. It was mid fours,
okay,
like 450.
okay. All right. Okay. All right. So I was trying to get the 275 difference. So, um, okay. So so by then the market, what were houses selling for at that point in that area?
They were over a million.
Over a million. Okay, that's where it
Yeah, in
makes sense.
2021 they went up to a million. In 2019, the ARV was in the 600K and 700K price range.
Okay. All right. Okay. So to make the numbers balance out, so um, um, did you have to discount it a little more to make the 275 or
Oh
what?
no,
Because they
the assignment went up.
oh the assignment. Oh
Yeah. Yeah, because the first investors turned out to be shady. And
oh that's
so
right.
they
Because you
couldn't
got okay.
perform.
I'm getting ahead of the story. I'm getting ahead of the story. All right. So I already knew that, but I'm getting ahead of the story. That part of it anyway. All right. So tell us about that investor.
So around November, my associate referred some people that he called his friends and colleagues that he had done business with. And because I knew him, I was like, oh, okay, cool. Let me have a conversation with them. They spoke all the lingo. They were saying all of the keywords from the Flipman video. So I'm like, oh, okay, they've done this before. All right, so they know what they're
Hey, now
talking
she gonna
about.
blame me.
Like, oh, okay, these are seasoned investors. They know. Okay, hold on.
Oh,
Yeah, they okay. Flipman was saying that back in 2013. Okay, bet. So, having a conversation with them, they wanted to see the property. Of course, they went to see the property, and then they called me back because because the assignment was very attractive because I knew. So I need to back up. I think the ARV by the time I was talking to investors was in the 800,000 price range. And so because I was assigning it for like 650, it was very attractive to them
yeah,
because there was a lot of room in there for them to do whatever they wanted to do. And
yeah.
so they moved very quickly and they told me they turned in their earnest money was 10,000.
Mm-hmm.
Um, because I had been working on it for 2.5 years. The attorney had a title company that he kind of recommended. And so I just went with it because I trusted the attorney.
Yeah.
And so when I met these investors, they wanted to use their own title company. Okay,
Mm.
nothing
Yeah.
really
That's normal. Yeah.
right. Yeah, nothing really out of the ordinary. And so I had a conversation with the title company and sent information over. And copies of the contract, and they were supposed to turn in their earnest money in 24 hours. And so I'm thinking we're locked and loaded.
So was that in November of 2019 before, or that had to be after though, because you had to wait
No,
till
that was in November.
okay,
Yeah.
all right. Okay, so all right, and so go ahead. What go ahead.
So okay, so now the title work is starting, and then they find that there is another lien on the property that we didn't know about, and it was in the six-figure price range.
Oh,
And so it was another tax lien. And so the probate attorney had a tax attorney that he referred to the family so they can get those taxes reduced. So we couldn't go through with settlement because if we had gone through with it and those taxes would have came out of the
they're
sale,
out of their money. Yeah,
right, they were already counting their coins, so
of course.
taking up six figures from what they thought they were going to get,
Yeah,
the attorney didn't think that would go over well, so he was like, okay, before we do anything, let me try to get these taxes reduced. Great, because um, they were the people that had gone through the most, and they're trying to get this resolved for grandma. And so I let them know and told the title company and the investors, you know, the title isn't clean, so they're going to reduce these taxes before it goes to settlement.
what
Everybody's
did
like, okay, that makes sense.
so
Everyone agreed.
what did they reduce the taxes to?
Oh, I don't remember.
Okay, all right, that's cool. All right, so
Um, yeah, because the taxes got reduced after the final settlement.
okay,
So
okay,
when
got
this finally closed, the taxes were put in escrow so
you.
that that work can continue to be done so that it could be reduced.
Okay, all right. Okay, so all right, so so what happened with this buyer? They just didn't have. Well, go ahead with the story. I don't want to tell it. Go. So what?
So when I knew we weren't going to close, um, this was
Well,
in December,
all right. So when did you what was the time frame on the contract with the buyer?
10 or 15 days.
Okay. all
Yeah.
right. All right. So
So, and it was the end of November when we put it under contract.
I got you.
And so everything unfolded and rolled over into December. And so just before Christmas, I sent an email saying, well, since this isn't going to be resolved anytime soon because these taxes are a very large ordeal, do you need me to sign something so that they can, you know, get their EMD back? Because I don't want to have that tied up while this
Sure.
is being sorted out. You guys can go and work on other things. And then once this is resolved, I'll let you know.
Mm-hmm.
Their title company, the attorney at that title company said there's no need for a release because technically the buyer couldn't perform anyway. So if this doesn't go to settlement, I would be in breach of the contract that I assigned to them, and I need to figure it out or something like that. He was threatening me to be on the hook for the contract. And that didn't make any sense to me because, in speaking to the attorney, the tax attorney, and the title company that I knew, they were just, you know, making empty threats. And so I'm pushing for, well, I would much rather you guys have your capital so that maybe you can work other deals because I don't know how long this is going to take.
Yeah, because you were
Turns
doing the right
out,
thing. Just get your earnest money, the deposit back.
mm-hmm,
And so they were basically trying to force the deal. Well, they were trying to make you keep the earnest money because that keeps them in the deal.
yes,
Whereas you were like, you were just saying, hey, there's no reason to keep this money here if,
yeah,
we have no idea when we're going to settle
right.
this title issue.
It could
And,
be
but they,
spring before this is cleared up. And
and
so
go ahead. I'm sorry.
that's what I told them. And
Yeah.
they pushed back. They pushed back because they were thinking that I was trying to go with someone else.
Yeah.
That
Wow.
came out in the end.
Yeah. Okay. So, all right. So we got the pushback going on. So once you realize that, oh, we're gonna have to do something different with these guys because they ain't gonna
Yeah.
act right. So,
Yeah.
so
So I called another attorney.
yeah.
So I called a real estate attorney and I said, hey, can you help me understand what is happening here? Here's my contract. Here's what happened. Here are the terms. And it turns out they never even turned in the earnest money deposit. And so
Huh?
when I found that out, like that put a battery in my back a little bit because I'm like, why am I going back and forth with you guys? Because you're out of compliance anyway. You were supposed to turn that earnest money deposit in like on December 4th or something like that. I don't know because it was 24 hours and they had never turned it in. And so I brought this to their attention on Christmas Eve and I
Wow.
waited until about 4:30.
And what did they say?
Um, and then I got into an argument with one of the investors because he was very disrespectful. He was upset that I had figured out that they hadn't turned in their earnest money deposit. And I realized that that title attorney was their friend, someone they played golf with. And so I felt like I was outnumbered.
Hmm.
And the way he was talking to me, he ended up blocking me in emails so that I couldn't correspond with them. And so that's when I contacted an attorney. And the attorney that I hired contacted their title company and said, you guys need to just release this because they never turned in the EMD anyway.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
that
And
was in
so,
December.
okay. So how long did that process take?
They fought it for about a week, I guess.
Okay.
I didn't waste a whole lot of time getting another attorney because it was going into the holidays. We were going into a new year. And I just wanted this to be resolved before the new year started.
I got you. So, all right. So, so that only took a week for them to release it,
Well, there was
or
nothing to release. They just
oh,
had to
okay,
send an email saying they wouldn't pursue because they had never turned their EMD in anyway. But
okay,
their title attorney tried to pull up a law that says that it was the intent that validated the contract.
okay. All right. So, so now there was nothing to release. So, what was your next move after that?
So it went through. The tax attorney was doing her research, trying to see where the taxes started to fall into default and arrears started building up. And that gave us a more concrete number. I think the number might have been, it was either 106 or 160,000.
Okay.
And that was the number that they had owed. And so they started to determine or discuss how they would go about resolving that, if they would all just divide it and take a separate cut, or if they would just wait and try to let it get reduced. And so, in the meantime, because we now knew the number, we now knew it was legitimate, the probate attorney told me that the taxes could go into escrow. No, another title attorney told me that it can go into escrow while this is sorted out and the transaction can still move forward. So once I
Okay.
learned that, then I'm like, oh, okay, well, all right, now it's really ready to sell because the family agreed to it. This is what's going to happen, and we're going to sell it. And so I reached out to the shady investors and said, all right, well, it's ready to sell now. This is the new assignment price. And they were not happy
Oh,
because
so you reached back out to those same guys.
yeah, when I put it back out there, they were in the chain. Yeah.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah, and I know now that was not smart. My attorney even said I would advise you not to deal with them again. And so I know better, and she's still my attorney, and I listen to her now.
Mm,
But I reached out to them and said, "All right, well, it's ready to sell. This is the new assignment price," and they were like, "Okay, thanks for the opportunity." And I said, "We're not using your title company. We're going to use my title company, and you better turn in the earnest money deposit. And so they did that. I think they did it like the same day. And so they turned it in. Now we're in the contract. I get confirmation that the earnest money is being held. The title company confirms that. And so, okay, well, now we're ready to roll. And it was a 10-day contract. And so day 10 comes and they can't perform. They're giving me excuses. They're saying
what month was this?
March,
Okay.
February.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. All right.
And
So
so
go
they
ahead.
were upset that, first of all, they were upset that the new price was based on current comps and that I insisted on my title company. But I just thought that was just, a fair compromise because I'm giving y'all a second chance
Yeah.
after the stunt that you pulled. Like, these are the terms. Like, now I know better. I'm going to do better. So
Yeah.
this is the title company. 24 hours, no excuses. And I need confirmation from the title company. I'm on the phone with the title company. All right, Mr. Reese, is it there? Like, I am hands on this time because I learned from just 2-3 months ago. So when it's time to go to settlement, they can't perform because they don't have the money.
They don't have the money.
Turns out they wanted to use different funding, and they asked me for my contract that I had with the seller. And so they saw what my assignment was and they got upset. And then in a conversation, he said, well, why did the price go up? I don't understand why the price went up. Why are you trying to nickel and dime us? And I'm like, what are you
Ah,
talking about? The comps went up. Like, you know what this market is. And he's like, well, I just need a little more time. And I was like, what I'm not giving you is more time. This is your second chance. We've been through this. And if you can't perform, then I'm going on to the next investor. Because by this time, I have real investors and I can have better conversations with them. And he couldn't perform. And so I told the title company in an email, all right, well, this isn't happening. And they should sign a release. And they refused to sign a release.
so you got to get an attorney again.
No, 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 no. This time, because no way I was going back to my attorney saying, Ms. Jones, Ms. Johnson, can you help me out? No way I was going back to her. But because they knew that I have an attorney, they had more mature conversations with me this time. And I mean, by mature, they just didn't hang up on me. Like
Yeah.
they heard me out, but they still weren't very happy. And so he was telling me how he doesn't even read his own contracts because I use their contract too.
Wow.
So in the second transaction and in the first, I used their contract. I read
Mm.
over their contract because I have experience with contracts. Okay, I can read the contract. And so the contract clearly states that the investor is going to turn in the EMD within 24 hours. Okay, they did that. So we know we're straight there.
Mm.
And if this transaction does not close, then I'm just thinking that I knew them signing a release wouldn't be easy because it was $10,000.
Yeah.
And so I send an email to the title company saying that, okay, well, this deal is done. I'm not giving them another chance. Whatever has to happen with the EMD, it has to happen because I did not care. Because I knew that they weren't getting it back and I didn't care if it came to me. And so I moved on.
Okay. All right. The mental note on that part right there, guys. All right. So, all right. So on to the next buyer. So what did you do to find the next buyer? I know you probably already was working it, but what did you do to find the next buyer?
Went to good old Craigslist. I went back to my yellow letter roots and I went to Craigslist and I put an ad saying in the for sale by owner section. I put all the details in there. I put the ARV in there. I stated that the comps were provided by me. I know what I'm talking about. I have experience in real estate. And so I got several calls and emails that I had to filter through. But the last person that I spoke with was an older gentleman from Bangladesh.
Oh, wow. Okay. And,
Yeah.
and so how did that go? What did he say?
So he called me. So we exchanged emails and then he asked if we could have a conversation.
Mm.
And when we spoke on the phone, he had a very heavy accent. And he was an older gentleman, so he spoke kind of slowly, but I could understand him. And so he asked about the ad, and he asked if I'm the one that posted it, and I provided all the comps. And so he vetted me and then gave me information so that I could vet him. He told me where the store was that they own in my area. He told me to go and meet his son. He told me to go and meet someone else. And I went to meet every person he told me to meet because I'm not going to get burned twice. So
Yeah.
I went to that store and I met his son. And his son was like, "My dad told you to come here?" I'm like, "Yeah, he did. Because he wants to buy a house that I have under contract." And he's like, "How lucky are you that you met us? If you're in with my family, then you're good." And that's when I was like, "Oh, well, all right, okay."
Okay. That's what's
And I
up.
went back and had another conversation with his dad. And he's like, "Look, if I give you what you're asking for, will you just take it off Craigslist?" Like, he was a very matter of fact man. Like,
Oh,
"I'm time to be playing with you. How much do you want for it?" And
wow.
so at that point, I think it was up to 745 on
Okay.
Craigslist.
Okay.
And he was like, "Is that it? Is that what you want?" And I was like, well, let's talk about the other terms. Like, now I'm nervous, but now I'm like, "Oh, okay.
That,
Wow,
that
you're not playing around."
that's way real cash buyers talk. You know what I'm saying?
Yes. Yeah, and I wasn't quite ready because I was like, "I need to see proof of funds. And how do I know you're a real person?" He's like, "Listen, how much
You
do
ain't
you
got to say
want
no.
for it?"
Hey, when they start talking like that, now of course, again, you could be going watching me and all these other people, but normally, like, take it off
Yeah.
Craigslist. Where do I need to
Yes.
send the earnest money? We'll close as soon as we can get a clear
Yeah.
title.
Yeah. But he insisted on using his old family attorney too.
Okay.
And I cautiously agreed. And I was on that attorney's behind. Like, "Send me a confirmation. Did they
Hmm.
send you any money? How long have you worked with them?" And the gentleman that ended up being the end buyer, he had me meet a realtor that he used to work with. Like, he had me meet so many people to,
References.
yes, yes, to take this property off my hands, that eventually I started to let my guard down a little bit and we moved forward and they closed very quickly.
Define
He
quickly.
sent me screenshots of his bank statements. Like, he didn't really want to waste time hiding anything or playing hardball.
Define quickly. Put it on the contract. How long it took to close?
10 days.
Okay. All right.
10 days.
So
Yeah.
when did the close was when did you all close it?
In April.
Okay. What okay, so she closed the deal. That's the 275,000. Let's talk about the 10,000. Did you know you were getting that?
No, that earnest money that the shady investors finally turned in, I didn't know that I was getting it. I just gave it to God. I was like, "Look, this is above me now. Whatever happens with that 10,000, it's gonna happen because I know that I followed this contract. I know I did everything that I was supposed to do. And all right, if I don't get it, fine."
All right. So it didn't happen at the same time, the closing or the initial
It
money.
happened before. It
Oh,
happened before because I had a couple more conversations. This guy was not relenting. Like, he was talking down to me. He was talking around me. And he was asking me why I nickled and dimed him. He's like, "Why did the price go up?"
so
And so we were
so so
having
he
these conversations.
so he signed off on it, or the title comes just sent it to you. This is hers. Ain't
Oh
no
no,
reason.
he eventually signed off on
He
it.
signed
Yeah,
off.
because he was being braggadocious. He's like, "I don't even read our contracts. I normally deal with our commercial division." I was like, "Oh wow. One day I hope to have a commercial division. So this probably really isn't going to set you back.
Well,
So
yeah,
go ahead and sign that release."
yeah. Go and sign that Playboy.
Yeah.
You know what
Yeah.
I'm
So
saying?
I just went along with him talking, and the more he talked, like, the more I was like, "Oh wow, this not gonna hurt you. Just go
Yeah,
ahead and sign a release then. Since you're so successful, you have two divisions and you've been investing for years." He went back on the person that referred him. He's like, "I mean, well, I know him, but I don't know him." And so I'm like, okay. I'm
oh
like,
good.
okay. At first you said that was your man, like that was your guy. But now that this isn't panning out, now you just go throw him under the bus. That's
Yeah.
fine.
Oh, that's funny. Nah, that's funny. All right, so you got money before the deal even closed or whatever, And so, wow, but this is
Yeah,
amazing.
I finally got
so,
that release
and
because I just
so,
was unmoved by his words.
hey, so, all right, so you already had got some bread on it, but 10,000 is good and nothing to sneeze at. But
Yeah.
whenever you was like the day before you knew that was going to close, did you still have some um like, nah, this ain't gonna happen? You know, there ain't no way these people finna
Yes.
close this.
Yes, because I'm looking at like my settlement statement, like,
Oh yeah, because they sent you the HUD before the day before to let you see
yes,
what, just check the numbers, yeah. And so you was
yeah,
like, ain't no way this happened. So
like,
the night before, blah blah
yeah.
blah, and then the next morning. So how did that go down?
The next morning, it was raining, so I'm like, all right, here we go. It's gonna be traffic. I had to drive about an hour away to their attorney's office. The seller, the heirs, met me out there, and their attorney, he was an older guy, so he did things in a very analog way, and so it was a little unsettling to see like papers and everything everywhere. Like, this not gonna happen, he is not ready, like, or he's gonna tell me something like, all right, we're gonna have to push this back, because it got pushed back a couple times. It got pushed back when the first investors couldn't perform,
Yeah.
and then with this last buyer, it got pushed back by maybe 4 days,
Okay. All
because
right.
he was going to close in 5 days.
Oh
So it
wow.
got pushed back to the normal 10-day time frame.
So okay, so they just sent you a wire. You didn't do a check, you did a wire, right?
Right,
Okay.
right,
So
yeah.
did it hit that day or did it hit the next day?
No, it didn't hit that day. And I don't think it hit the next day. But I was sitting on the porch like, all right, it's not there yet. Like, wait. I'm like, okay, wait. Did they just sign over this house and these people aren't going to pay?
Yeah.
Did yesterday really happen? Like, let me check one more time. All right, it wasn't there. So eventually I ended up calling the attorney, because he does things in an analog way. It didn't happen on that day. It
So he
happened 2 days later.
so he didn't even wire the money until 2 days later.
Right.
Oh wow, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And then I ended up calling the investor, because, like his son said, I'm good because I'm in with their family. So
Yeah.
I'm like, hey,
I ain't got paid
the
yet.
wire, the wire didn't show up yet. I'm all timid, like, hey, so everything all right? Because I don't know what to ask now
Yeah.
that it doesn't show up.
So well, and the reason she and I are tripping about that because she's been in real estate long enough. If the closing was at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, you're probably not gonna get that money that day. But the
Right,
next day, you're supposed to be getting your
right.
bread.
Yeah.
Right.
And it was
But
around 3 o'clock.
yeah, you
Yeah.
know what I'm saying? So she didn't get the money the next day, and then she had to call the secretary, like, wait a minute, what's the deal here? You know what I'm saying? So because they're not gonna hold up a wire. If it would have been a check, she got a check and went a deposit. Who knows how long it took her bank to cash it. But bank wire should be, within a couple of hours normally. So when you check your account and the money was there, what?
I didn't even check. My daughter checked,
Oh,
because my daughter was going through this process with me step by step, because
okay.
she wants to be an investor as well. So she knew the stress and all the ups and the downs, and she knew the intricate details. She knew when investors were mean to me, and she knew the normal process because she also took real estate classes. So
Yeah.
she looked the next day, and then she sent me a text because she lives on the West Coast, and she's like, "You really did it." And I was like, "Oh, that must mean it's there." And so that's when I checked, because it was in our business account, because she's my business partner.
Yeah.
And so I guess she was sitting on the porch too, but she was playing it cool. And when she
Yeah.
sent me the text, I was like, "Oh, it happened. It happened. It happened." But still, like, I didn't reach out to you until this month.
Yeah.
And so I
That
turned my
was
phone off. I
yeah, that
turned
was
my phone
Friday or
off
Saturday or
and
whatever.
stopped posting, because it was just unreal. It was unbelievable.
Wow. 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 Wow.
Exactly. I'm still saying wow. And I've
Wow.
done a couple other transactions since then. So that 285 kind of like it made it real for sure. It
Made it
made it
real.
absolutely real. And the little things that I used to worry about, like, well, what if they don't call me back? Or what if I don't know what to say when they answer the phone? Like, those fears are gone because I've gone through this very hard transaction on my first one with nothing but old Flipman videos. So my confidence and my awareness has increased a great deal because I navigated all of those hurdles. And with my daughter watching me go through it, and now her understanding it, it was just life changing and it was really good. In the
Wow.
end, it was really good because it was worth it. And I had
Yes.
no clue that it would be that much because when I started it in 2019, I'm thinking 40,000, 70,000 would have been like, oh my God, if I could make 70,000, I was thinking 50,000 most, at most.
Yeah. So nearly 3 years, $285,000, but worth every day of that from the experience. Because you basically, it's just like you just basically went to college for 3 years and they had a
Exactly
bonus.
right.
And that's what college should be. And they had a bonus waiting on you
Right.
after you
Yeah, I
finish your
got
course.
paid.
You got paid.
I got paid to learn all of that.
Yeah, you went to a seminar. What Ron LeGrand said. You went to a seminar, but at the end of your seminar, normally when he's saying that, it means that you spent money to learn a valuable lesson. You
Ooh,
made money and learned an
yeah.
unbelievable
Oh,
process
I
from dealing
learned
with
a lot.
heirs to dealing with a bad buyer to dealing with a real
Yeah,
buyer to
yeah.
having to get an attorney. That was a
Yeah,
lot.
that
You
was a
know.
lot. Yeah. But it
Oh
was
wow.
doable. It was doable because while I was going through it, I was nervous the whole time. But while I was going through it, I'm like, no, babe, this is no, all you're supposed to do. Like, you have a contract, you sign a contract. So I'm thinking of how simple it is because it's people and it's contracts and it's conversations. And so even when I got stuck, I'm like, no, this is it. I'm supposed to push through. And so that's what I kept doing.
Wow. Amazing. Amazing.
Yeah.
I am so glad you reached out to me. You know, wow, this is
I'm
going to
glad you were on YouTube 13 years ago.
help.
because honestly, because okay, so watching your videos, you become familiar with the terminology because
Hmm.
even though it deals with real estate, it's on a different level than what I
Yeah,
was used to. And so my license didn't apply. The only thing that was good for was I know I have good comps.
yeah,
I
yeah.
always have current comps. My comps are in real time. I kept refreshing them, and that's why the price kept going up. And that's why when I went back to that bad buyer and gave him a new price, I knew my numbers were good.
Good. Wow. Well, let me ask you this: a couple of things. One of them is we know we've had an adjustment in the market as far as because of interest rates, and then, but no, you got this in before that.
Hmm. Yeah.
So
And
has
also because my buyer pool wasn't based on the open market, the interest rates had no bearing on the
yeah,
buyer, but the shady buyer, the shady investor did tell me that it wasn't a good price because he didn't know what the market was going to do in November. But the prices have continued to go up. By the time I sold this property, the ARV was 1.85.
have they flipped it yet? Or is it on the market? Have they
No,
renovated? They haven't. Okay,
no.
okay, that's going to be interesting to see. What they end up selling it for.
Yeah.
The other thing was, dang, I forgot what it was. Um, we were talking about. Okay, I forgot what I remember. But anyway, so man, I know I've taken up an hour of your time, and so just to somewhat just see where you are now. I know you say you've done a couple of more deals. So what's your daily activity like now? You and your daughter as partners.
Well, she's a day trader, so she's not involved at all. But
Mm,
since this deal, all of our bills are paid off. So my daily routine is very unscripted.
I got you.
I do what I want to do now because I really have that type of freedom.
I got you. So as far as what as far as pursuing other deals, do you have marketing in place, or what are you doing with that as far as trying to find more deals?
Well, now I'm a part of. a couple of networking groups. I found out about some groups on LinkedIn, and I just continue to build, excuse me, I continue to build my list and I continue to meet other people so that as I'm getting other deals or other properties, I know who to send them to. Because now I know to ask, all right, well, what's your criteria? What are you looking for? And so I'm able to better organize my investor list.
I got you. You've done many listings since then, as far as being an agent.
Oh, no, 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 because nope, because because prior to this deal closing, I wasn't really generating a lot. I wasn't marketing a lot, and I was dealing with, my depression issues because my mom had passed. So I
Mhm.
wasn't doing a whole lot. I
Okay,
was fighting depression, and I was trying to be present for the people and other obligations that I had, and I did just the bare minimum. So when this deal closed, it allowed me the time to just sit back and catch my breath and then catch up.
I got you. That's
And so
what's
now
up.
I do transactions by referrals.
I got you. That's what's up. So, if you want to, your story is more unique probably than any ones that I've done because of the time frame that it took and the patience it took to do the deal, and then the amount of money at the end of the day. Um, what do you want to share with individuals that have stayed and watched the end of this? What would you like to share with them on their journey to trying to pursue this thing called wholesaling real estate?
If you're thinking about it, just start. Just start. Don't worry about knowing the whole process because wholesale works in a way where if you follow each step at a certain time, then the next step is a little easier to follow. So don't get ahead of yourself. If you're thinking about it, just start.
Boom. That's what's up. So, wow, guys, we really, really appreciate her sharing her story. I couldn't wait. I was so disappointed yesterday when you said you couldn't do
Oh my
it.
God. So being out of town with a bunch of Omega men, like you gotta just leave your phone in your room because some tricky things happen and it gets slippery because you're in sweaty environments. And so
I got you.
my
I got
phone paid the price.
you. Yeah, that's cool. Hey, it happened at the right time. All right. So, with nothing else, guys, we really appreciate Natalia. I can't say it.
Natalia.
Natalia, for sharing her story. And wow, this is wholesaling. So there's no cap on this money. Real quick, if you would have listed that property, what's the max you probably could have made?
Oh, so I could have listed it. I could have listed it for what I assigned it for. So I could have listed it for 745 and then depending on what type of buyer and
Well,
who
I'm
brought
saying
the
six
buyer to
percent.
me,
Yeah, 6% though. What we'll just say
745.
800. Yeah, we'll say 800. So what is that? 48,000. That would have been the max.
But I would have had to split that
You would have
if
to
the
split
buyer
that.
had another agent.
Yeah, you'd
Yeah.
have to split. So 24, and then you have to give your broker 5, 10, 20,
Oh
whatever it is.
no, no, I'm 100% with the broker, so I would have just had to split with
Okay.
the other agent.
I got you. So 24 grand, versus 285,000 as a wholesaler.
Yeah,
I'm just
that's
saying.
wholesaling. That is wholesaling, and it just makes sense. It makes
Yeah.
perfect sense. I
Oh,
waited 15 years to do it, but it was worth it.
oh yeah, it was worth it. It was worth it. This is what I had to ask you last before we get out of here. What did the do you remember what the sellers? You may not know the exact number. What did they walk away with? Because I know they had to put the tax amount in escrow. What did they walk away with?
I don't know because once the deal closed, they didn't get their disbursement right away. And
Okay.
because I just wanted to decompress, I didn't follow up like I wanted to, count their money. I just wanted to, the attorney confirmed that grandma got her money. So I was happy.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Cool. That's what's up. So again, guys, we really, really appreciate her sharing her story. And as I always like to say, guys, We'll see you on the flip side.
Flip man, it's the flip man. You want some money in your hand? Flipping houses without credit or your cash. Get that bag.